Hi everyone, welcome to the Sunday Night Indigenous Sex and Love Show. My name is Lavallee. This is my co-host,
Edward Sear.
And today we are here at Two Spirited People of the First Nations, located at 145 Front Street East and Suite 105.
And so today we want to remove ourselves from this episode and give the spotlight and the microphone to our friends and family who are part of the LGBTQ2S community. And we're really looking forward to giving you guys another great episode.
Welcome to the Sunday Night Indigenous Sex and Love Show. My name is McCrady. I'm the Executive Director here at the Two Spirited People of the First Nations.
I'm Tamara, Elie, and I'm the new support service worker here at Two Spirited People of the First Nations.
We feel very honored to have been asked by the NAGRI program to come and speak with you, and we feel like there's a lot of different things that we could talk about as far as being two-spirited people and the issues and things that the two-spirited people have to need to address and how to work with two-spirited people. So we feel like there's a lot to share with you today, but we really wanted to focus on ourselves, and so you can get to know us, and then that way you could better understand why we have the philosophy we do about being two-spirited. So essentially there's a lot of different people in the two-spirited community. There's a lot of people who identify in various ways, and so we feel that we can't really speak for them about anything to do with sex and love, but we can share a little bit about ourselves. And that would really help as far as you understand how it's very important to hear everyone's story, and everyone has a story, and how unique their stories can be is going to make a big difference about how you see things. So we're going to start by, Tamara's going to share a little bit about her story, and maybe you'll find out a little bit of information about her that you didn't know.
Okay. Hi y'all, thank you for having me. I just want to start off by saying it's a pleasure for me to have the opportunity to be here and be aired on the Sunday Night Live Indigenous Sex and Love Show. So I'm going to share my story. I'm just going to share a little bit about me coming out to my mother about being two-spirited. I'm two-spirited. I have a partner I've been with for 4 years now. So with that having said, it's a little bit of a kind of funny story. Maybe it will shed light on, the fact that it is a very hard topic to bring to your family, and not having a supportive network to, help just make things easier in that transition. I was very fortunate to have my mother and father and family who have supported me on my journey with me being two-spirited, so I definitely want to say that I appreciate that. So I will begin with when I was about 15 or 16, I decided that I wanted to come out and share with my mother that I, was lesbian. So we were taking our evening walk one day, and going back to our building, and I decided to ask my mother if I could ask her something. And she looked at me with that look and replied, "Yeah, Tamara, you can ask me," but kind of already knew what I was going to ask was maybe a little bit touchy. And I then proceeded to say, "Would you love me if I was still gay?" We chuckled, and she said, "Yes, Tamara, of course I would still love you. That doesn't change anything of who you are. You're still my daughter. What you choose to do, that's completely okay. I'll accept it." And she then proceeded to say, "Is that what you're into?" And we chuckled. It was humorous, which, was nice. And then I said, "Yes, Mom, that's what I'm into." So she supported me ever since that day, and has been open, and nothing's ever changed. She's still looked at me the same, loved me the same. So I just wanted to, share that, it's hard coming out to parents and friends, family, etc. But I would definitely say that it's worth, pursuing and doing that for your own personal journey, as we are all different, and that's okay. It will just, help, help build your confidence in who you are as a person. So I would really, stand by that. And everybody does have their own story, and some are, not going to be as, accepting. But again, you have to be confident and don't forget to be who you are. So thank you for listening, and I'm going to pass the floor back to my coworker, Keith.
Right, thank you. Thanks for sharing, Tamara. So I'm a OG Cree from a place called Biinjitwabik Zagi in Anishinaabeg. And for people who don't know, that's north of Thunder Bay. It's a small reservation, maybe 150 people. And I grew up there as a young boy, and had a lot of different experiences as far as my own trauma and things that happened. So there was a time where I really was kind of closed off as far as sharing with people about my story and what's happened to me as far as being gay, gay male, and now two-spirited. And when I say now two-spirited, it's because there is a story that has to do with that, and I'll share that with you in a bit. But first, I'll tell you my story of coming out, because it wasn't necessarily as smooth as I wanted. But in the end, it had a lot to do with just who I was, where I was at when I came out. So I grew up on the reservation, and I had a lot of people teasing me as far as being gay and making comments to me throughout high school. Even family members would say things and joke, and it was kind of very hurtful at the time. But when I was young, I was really I kind of pushed back and had this kind of attitude where I didn't care what you said, and just kind of kept trucking along and didn't really answer any questions about my sexuality or what I liked. And so it took me graduating high school and leaving the reservation to really understand what happened in my childhood that really made me not want to be open about myself. I was sexually abused as a child multiple times, and as I got older, I was like, I knew that I had these feelings about men, and that I was attracted to men, but I didn't want to be. I really was pushing it away, thinking, well, how could a man love you if this is the horrible things that they could do to you? So as I went to college and university, I met the mother of my children, and I do have 4 children. They're wonderful children. They're all in their teens and in adulthood now. But at the time, when I was with their mother, we talked about our past sexual experiences. And so even being 19 years old, really young, and meeting a girl, I was able to say to her that, I might have had interest in guys. And so at the time she was like, well, is that a problem? Are you gay or whatever? And I said, I don't think so. And at the time I didn't think so. It was this kind of denial where I'm like, oh, I don't want to be gay, so why would I ever choose to be gay? And so I just kind of blocked it out and decided that, this is who I am. I'm with my kid's mom. And we, were together for 6 years. And during that time, we had 4 children. And then there became a point where this kind of feeling of being attracted to men kind of became very overwhelming. And I also became much more sure of myself and confident. I had, I've always had really positive body image, and so I was really kind of a confident person. I liked who I was becoming as a young man. And when I was young and sexually abused, I really thought it was going to be impossible to be happy. And so I was just kind of focused on my goal in life was to be happy. That was going to be success. And so as I got older and was able to be honest with myself and say, you know what, I think I might be gay, I talked to my kid's mom and I let her know, and I said, I think this is what it is, and came out, and we had a good relationship at the time, and basically decided to raise the kids together. But because of that confidence to tell someone who I really cared about, I basically the same day told my friends, the same day told my coworkers, same day told anyone who needed to know, because I felt very free, kind of like able to say what I want. So very shortly after that, I needed to tell my family, because they were kind of distant from me. I wasn't too close to my family. So I went back to the reservation and visited my mom. And by that time, I already had a partner, because it didn't take me long. Anyways, so my partner and I went back, and my mom and brother and sister were out camping, and so we went to their campsite, and I brought my partner and my friend, so I had another gay friend at the time. And so the three of us went and said, can we join you camping? And they were like, oh yeah, sure, great, whatever. And so we sat around, and my brother instinctively knew that I had something to tell my mom, so he invited that at the time boyfriend and my friends to come and play horseshoes with them. And so I left me with my mom and my sister. And so there I just told my mom, I said, oh, I have something to tell you, that I'm gay, and this is my partner, and this is who I am. And my mom was quite surprised. Some people have that story where their mom always knew. My mom was like, what are you talking about? And really surprised. But she said, all right, so that guy's your boyfriend. Who the hell's the other guy? And so it was kind of funny. My mom's kind of a character too. And so I basically said, oh, that's my friend, and that was it. So my mom, who was sober for 20-something years, from maybe 30 years at the time, that night had one little cooler around the campfire to help her cope with that. And it was kind of like a nice moment. My sister was there, and they made a lot of questions about gay sex, and like, what do you do, and how gay are you really? And my sister made some really inappropriate comments to my partner. It was kind of like a nice moment to say, like, this is it. But the wonderful thing was my brother really was just accepting, and hugged us and hugged my partner, and just kind of never looked back. And so it was really great at the time, the way that I came out. However, it didn't stay that way. My mom didn't like it. She really had a lot of difficulty dealing with me being gay when I brought my partner into the family. In fact, we had a falling out for a few years where I didn't speak with my mom because of it. And so we eventually mended our relationship, and it's much stronger than it's actually ever been since maybe when I was like 16 or so. But it had a lot to do with communication and being patient and really understanding that as my mother, I know that it might not be the path that she wanted for me, but she had to learn to accept it just as I did. That's kind of what I wanted to share about my story. However, there's much more things we could talk about. And recently, one of the things that were important in the LGBT community is pronouns. And so I don't necessarily am not the person to teach pronouns, but I could tell you a story about pronouns that really was very helpful to me. So I was in a meeting, with some young people and some service providers, etc. And someone came up to me very eagerly and stomped in my face, like with a big smile, like, pronouns. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then they're like, what pronoun do you go by? And they're like, I go by he, him, they, or he, him, her. Well, I don't even know what it is. He, him, his. Sorry. And I said, okay. And I still didn't know what they were talking about. And so I was like immediately trying to figure out, I'm like, what is this person talking about? They kind of were like turned off that I didn't know, like I should know. And I didn't know. And I wasn't embarrassed that I didn't know. I really just was like, someone teach me, I don't know what you're talking about. So I did some research about it and found out, obviously, there's different pronouns that people use. And again, I'm not teaching about that. I'm just going to share my story. And so I was thinking, well, how do I want to identify? So I went to another event, and they were giving out stickers, and they said, put your pronoun underneath. And I said, and it was really kind of like, I was really like, I don't know what to put, because I don't want to be labeled something that I didn't feel. Because as much as I appear as a male, and I was born male, and I live life like a gay male and Anishinaabe male, there was a time where I identified as from gay male to two-spirited, and there's a reason. To me, being two-spirited is not necessarily just a sexual identity. It's not just a gender identity. It's a role in our community as Indigenous people, and so. There was times where people would be like, you're obviously two-spirited, like you're a two-spirited male, you're a two-spirited person, and I never really took on that role and responsibility because I wasn't ready to. I was really focusing on other things in my life, being, trying to be a leader in our Indigenous community, trying to be a leader in my family, and trying to build, healthy, strong relationships with my children and friends, etc. So. I really listened to kind of my inner voice about, being two-spirited, And when this opportunity came along to be in this role, it was just shortly before that where I identified as two-spirited, because it was me being ready for this. I am a two-spirited male because I'm ready to work with our community and reclaim the role of being two-spirited in the community, in family, and etc. So that's really kind of why I'm here to share that. I think it has a lot to do with my own personal story, but I think there might be people who relate to that. So again, I'm going to share that. And as far as pronouns, I have answered to he, him, his my whole life. I also will answer to they, them, theirs. But there's times where people have called me she, her, and I also can respond to that. And I think it has a lot to do with, because I believe that I have both male, female energies inside me. I'm a two-spirited person, so it makes sense that these pronouns I would respond to them. I also don't. I think the message, as far as the misogyny out there, is that it's not an insult to be called a female. It's not an insult to be called a she or anything. It's not an insult to be called a he. It's just, if that's something that's important to you, then just communicate that, because I think a lot of it is about communication, and there's going to be different places on the spectrum where people think something is important or something is not important, and we just have to respect that. And just because it doesn't match our importance, or if we think something is serious or not, what does that have to do with us? We just need to respect that other people feel differently. And so, I don't know, Tamara, you want to add anything to that?
I'll share my pronouns. So my pronouns are she, her, they, and them. I also like to use they and them, but preferably would be she or her. So yeah, I'll just leave it with that.
Yeah, so I think what we really wanted to share was that you just met two two-spirited people, but that doesn't mean you know the two-spirit stories. So I think the lesson we really want to share here is that you just have to listen to everyone's story, treat people like unique individuals, and respect each other, and that will come in back to you from the people once you get to know them. So listen to as many stories as you can and get to know as many people as you can. And when you work with people, remember that not everyone is going to have the same perspective as you, or same kind of seriousness about different issues as you. Right? Thank you.
Thank you.